that it's really important that that relationship between local boards and those brokers is strong, and that it's not about money. It's not about just moving the goalposts. And I think in terms of the C, I think it can only be progress in a year. I don't think it can be where are all the outcomes at that point. It'll be about where are we up to now, because this will be an evolving process, and each community has different levels of expertise at the moment. And I think that if we've got one management with those brokers reporting back to that one set of managers, whoever that be, there can be a strategy put forward as how we're going to address it, and we'll be able to get that information back through to this table so that we can make good decisions with the local boards, with their input and telling us how it's working when we look at the annual plan next year. So I support, we've got a B, oh, was the A. Yeah, I support those three recommendations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Casey.
Yeah, just first of all, I want to thank the local boards for their words today and for participating in the political steering committee, or steering parties. What was it called?
Advisory group.
Advisory group. It's been a really engaging process. It's had its moments, and I'm just delighted to see this document about to come into fruition, because it's what everybody's been asking for. The community wants it, the council wants it, the boards want it, and it's about to happen. And it is a big change. And I just want to refer everybody to the document itself, because there's a couple of things that we even heard today, you know, from the local board input on another matter. What Aucklanders want is an increase in the level of control and influence that communities and local people have over things they care about and which matter to them. That's what they want, and this gives it to them. More bottom-up design and delivery of local initiatives. We've heard that every week in this council. So it's been a long time coming, and there is a worry I have, and it is about the culture change, and I know that we're starting in a safe place and moving out from that safe place, but I think Glenn mentioned it. There are some parts of our council family that are still kind of top-down. Some of the CCOs could learn from this exercise. So I'm interested, probably from Graham, and when do you imagine we're having the rollout to the whole family? I know that, you know, but you must have a plan.
Oh, I've got high hopes, Councillor Casey. I mean, we're starting, first of all, through the chair, reviewing our internal, you know, culture and the way that we configure this unit. But the expectation is that this is a team of enablers and strategic facilitators rather than necessarily just doers. So, you know, the conversations we're having across the wider operations leadership team around, well, you know, how does this way of working, you know, reflect in our parks portfolio, or in how we manage stormwater, or, you know, any range of activity. Is trying to say, well, actually, this is a kind of a cultural change that we're looking to lead through the organisation and more broadly. So I couldn't possibly put a time frame on it, because we're talking about a large cultural change over a period of time, which I think is quite important. But this is, I think, the beginning of that quite intentional journey.
Thanks, Graham. I've just got one other thing I'd like to say, and that's to thank Dean and Graham and Leora for the immense work that's been put in by all on this. And Peter Haynes, when he was at the table, suggested an amendment to the review. Given that we've just had a review earlier in this meeting, which didn't go so well, I'd quite like to amend that to his way of thinking, which was to add in the words outcome, structure and operation. So it's not just, we will, by nature of it, will be progress, but so we review the outcomes, structures and operation of the model. So that's a change to
C.
C. Yep.
You got no problem.
Review the outcomes, structure and operation of the model.
So it's progress against those, isn't it? You know, we so note the progress against outcomes, progress against structure, and progress in the operational model. Yeah. So I'm generally fine with that. Just gives shape to.
Councillor Darby, are you happy with that? You're the mover of this now.
Just take us to the key words again. Sorry.
Outcome, structure and operation.
So the proposed wording would read along the lines of note that progress against outcome, structure and operations,
The model.
yeah, of the model.
Operation of the model.
And the operation of the model be reviewed, yeah. Words along those lines.
Okay? So, it's on the floor, the motion's on the floor, but we do have, sorry? Hang on, is there any others on this one, Steve? No, well, I was just going to ask councillor Walker, you've got is that an amendment there you want to put up?
Addition, yes.
Addition. So everyone, councillor Walker's moved that to ensure the transition maintains delivery of local board work programs and local initiatives, noting the intent to move from a delivery model to one of a more strategic nature without having a negative impact on local board budgets. So that's what the councillor Walker's put forward, is that correct?
That's correct.
So is there anyone who wants to second that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second by
Can we
councillor.
understand it, Mr Chairman? Because it actually sounds like it's getting further away from the community, becoming strategic rather than delivery. So I don't really understand it at all. So it would be hard for me to vote for it or against it. I have to abstain.
Well, I think that, I mean, quite frankly, it's what councillor Walker's put forward. I think that's probably a given in these changes. So, I mean, by putting it into as a motion or as a resolution, I don't know if that's going to take us very far, councillor Walker. But I mean, I can put it to the vote though, if you wish. It's been moved and seconded.
Sure. May I speak to it?
Yes, you can move. Yeah.
I mean, my concern is in all of this that there's very little information around costs, what the frankly rather savage reduction in savings is going to mean across this this area, and we're moving into uncharted territories. There's a considerable amount of capacity building. As Mr Wilcox mentioned, that there may be superwomen and supermen required to fill these roles, and just where those people are for the amount of money that they might be paid remain to be seen. And certainly my view is that in respect of cohesion across the organisation, that is the council, the local boards and especially the CCOs, we often have circumstances where they're pulling in different directions. I'd like to think that this will go some way to remedy that, but it will require, I think, an order of magnitude at least along the lines that we've got now, not a reduction. So that goes some way just to emphasising that resources are important and what the work of local boards do and local initiatives need to be retained.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Well, I was just going to say that I don't think really this amendment adds anything. I think that it's a given that we'll be making sure that it's going to be important, and no doubt the local boards will be monitoring the delivery of their work programs, and there'll be squeals if they start losing out because of these changes. I don't think that's kind of I don't think that's going to happen. And delivery of a model from, you say, if a move from a delivery model to one of a more strategic nature, I don't know really what that means, because although they're called strategic brokers, I actually raised the question as to whether that was a good name. I'm not happy. I'm happy with the broker name, but strategic brokers is kind of giving them a name which I don't think really truly reflects their role. But you know, it was the name put forward, and strategic is kind of a one that everybody seems to
Just
want
leave
to
it
move
at
to.
advisor
So
like we had
that's
before.
where we are. So look, I can't support this. I don't think it adds anything to the overall concept that we're working towards today. So that's my position. Any other speakers? I'll put the motion, or I'll put the amendment then. Oh, sorry. Did you just,
Sorry, I cut you mid-flow off there.
yeah, did you
Mr.
wish to
Chair.
say something?
I was just going to say a couple of things, if I may, just very quickly. Which one is that we still haven't consulted on this proposal yet, so nothing is locked in stone in terms of titles or anything along those lines, so we still need to consult. And I guess the other point around local board budgets I was going to make was that local boards have discretion over their local, their LDI budget, so, which covers a wider area than just community development activities, so that will carry on through to the new year. But I'll just make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put the motion then, or the amendment. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
No, I declare that lost. Thank you. So we are now back to this. One other speaker I have is Councillor Cooper.
No, that was it, I think.
You don't want to speak further?
Oh, you added in something at the top, haven't you? Oh, just in C, I was just a bit concerned by the very nature of it. We see it time and time again when something happens and then we do a 1-year review and you've got specific things that say how many outcomes did you have, how many, and we might have to say, well, not many as yet, and it's just another stick for people to whack with. When there's been really good intentions for a whole year, people have been beavering away, but because you're still building the foundations of something, you can't go there with this many things, widgets, and it will actually could undermine the whole process. People will say it's not working, and I think what we've got to do is say, look, we can still set a framework for how you measure what we've done, but I think when you specify it so closely, it's actually just setting up to fail in the first year. I think it'll be so variable across local board areas, because as Chair McIntyre has said, it's going to be different for every community, and it might say, oh, there's been nothing happening in this one and lots happening in that one. It's just too specific, and I think I've got every faith in our staff to come to us with some sort of framework that says this is how we're going to evaluate it after the first year. I don't think we have to be so prescriptive. We've got really good staff here who know their business. So I think it's getting to, another one where we're basically writing the job description every time we do a resolution.
Okay.
So that's why I won't support C if we leave that in it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, I hope you can support it, but maybe I
can support bits
look, I
of it.
think, this whole process, it's been a good process because there's been input from councillors, the mayor led it, there was councillors, local board representatives, and the Independent Maori Statutory Board, which I think has given us a good cross flow of information. I think it started off, there was a lot of different ideas. It was uncertain as to where we were going, but every time the officers went away and refined what their position was, what the information they had, or the outlining the structure of the new concept. And I think that it's now, I think we've landed in a position where I'm really grateful that we have such commitment from around the table here, but also from the local boards, because I think there's a lot of goodwill between the two sides of of Auckland Council, of the elected representatives, and I'm certain that in the future we'll work through these issues and concerns that have been raised. So I thank everyone who's been participating in it up till now. It now puts a lot of pressure on Mr. Kimpton and Mr. Bodman and their staff to deliver, but I thank you thank your staff for the work that you've done in the process as well. Thanks very much. So, Councillor Darby, do you wish to have a right of reply? No. No? Okay, so I'll put the motion B, C and D. I'll put those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done.
You want to be...
Can you note that I was against C, but not, I was for the others? Thank you.
We now go to item... Councillor Fletcher?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, you're going to agenda item 11, and I was just going to move it pro forma.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Fletcher. You've actually got all the information in the attachment which came out today. One of the Waitakere...
I'll move it.
You'll second it? Yep. It's
I'll
Councillor
second it,
Fletcher.
yes,
Councillor
yes.
Fletcher seconded it.
Yes,
Any discussion?
No.
Any discussion?
Just acknowledge